Buddy Holly. And he goes,
Duh.
you don't look like Buddy Holly. You look like Sherman from the Bullwinkle Show.
Oh.
And he meant, Sherman and Professor Peabody. And Sherman is this little kid, and the dog is smarter than him. But we thought that was hilarious. We thought that was the greatest idea ever. I look like Sherman from the... How great is that? Sherman. And he said...
To bring out our wonderful guest, he is the legendary Peter Noone, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, Danica. Hello, Kid Cadet.
Hello. Sorry, my mouse wasn't working somehow, so that was fun. But hello.
Technology is lovely. Peter, we are so thrilled. Like, this is so amazing for us. You have no idea. We are so honored that you're joining us for this time.
Well, thank you. The wonder of modern science is you sent me an email and I read it, and I resisted at first.
Oh, did you? A little reason? Okay.
I thought, I'll have a go.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. And so we kind of wanted to start by asking, so obviously you've been on the cover of numerous, like thousands of magazines. You've performed on the biggest TV shows and the biggest stages in the world. But what has the most sentimental value to you?
The most sentimental value, when my band first started, we used to play a lot at the Cavern in Liverpool and the Oasis in Manchester, because those were kind of the stepping stone into the next level. And for years as a kid, when I was 12, 13, I would go there and I'd see the people who were making the step from playing to their sister's friends to a little bit better to a little bit better. And once you got to the Oasis and the Cavern, you entered this next sphere, and that was good enough for me. I thought, well, that's it, I made it. That was my the Cavern and the Oasis became my homeroom. It was like I would know where the dressing room was, and I knew that. And luckily at the Cavern there was a guy who worked at the Cavern called Bob Wooler. And I think he was the manager, and it could have been the owner, I don't know, but he was the man who paid us. And he really, when I asked, why did we get so many dates at the Cavern when we were just kids, and the competition was enormous, it was like Beatles and Undertakers and Escorts and, bands much, much more, first of all, older than us, but much more professional and better musicians. And I said, why did Bob Wooler book us so many times? And, the answer was from the manager, who's still alive. He liked you, he liked the band. He liked the way you operated. He liked the kind of songs you were doing. And he knew that you would eventually find a bigger audience. So he kept bringing you back. And for example, the Oasis, the Cavern was a big one for Herman's Hermits because, first of all, we played it as Pete Novak and the Heartbeats, and we did really well. And then we were Herman and the Hermits, and then Herman's Hermits. And for some reason, we sort of crossed this. People who know the Cavern, which is nobody nowadays, but there were 3 sessions, and there was like there was a lunchtime session, because in those days, girls, mostly girls, on their lunch break, went to hang with each other and dance. Girls would jive on their own and stuff, and and we were the band who played at lunchtime. And we'd play, the other lunchtime bands were the Ravens, who were the Kinks, and there were kind of few sort of starting bands. But then there was the junior Cavern that started around 4:30 till 6:30, which was for kids on their way home from school whose mum and dad worked, kind of, basically. It was like it must have been really cheap to get in because it was always full, and from 4:30 to 6:30. And then at 7 o'clock or somewhere around then, it became the Cavern, which is the Beatles and all the big band, Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. And for some reason, we sort of eased our way into that one so we would be there all day, you know, and we became cognizant of the way it worked. And England being a very small country, people it's a very small country. Everybody who was in a group, a band, knew each other. We knew who their manager was. We knew we just knew each other. And once you got past that cavern oasis level, I can't imagine. I'm sure there's one in the same thing happens somewhere in America, in every city in America. Once you got into that level, then you started to get out of town. People would see you could play Birmingham and you could play Leeds and you could play all the northern England and maybe get to Glasgow and stuff like that. And in that transportation system, you know, where everybody, first of all, you needed a van. You needed a lead singer, a drummer, a bass player, a guitar player, maybe a keyboard player, and a van. And we were all too young to drive a van, so we needed a driver. But the Beatles had a driver, and they were already old. So we started to travel, you know, driving up and down England and traveling to different places. And we found that our thing worked almost everywhere, really, which was we would do songs that nobody else did. And we moved up into this next level. And in that level there, when you talk about what I miss, what I reminisce about is that was, you know, you would stop at 2:00 in the morning on the way home from Glasgow, and you would stop in a thing called a transport cafe, and you would meet all the guys from other bands and groups and girls from, you know, I think the Honeycombs had a girl and the Applejacks had a girl, and you would be expected to help each band out with the fight that they'd got going with the drivers of trucks who didn't like anybody in a band at all. They just didn't like people with long hair. And you know, that's a key part of my life, that I became part of a culture that how can I say it? A part of a culture that it was like being in a union. It's like we were all plumbers and we watched out for each other. And like I said, what was astonishing about the whole thing in retrospect is that we all knew each other. You know, we knew people from every band, and you know, like, we didn't know the Beatles personally, but we knew Brian Epstein, and we knew Terry Doran, who was John Lennon's driver, and we knew, you know, there was this whole sort of this music culture that was all, you know. My mum lived in Liverpool, and she lived near this guy who was in the Searchers, and, you know, the drummer from Freddie and the Dreamers went to my school, and so there was this whole sort of wonderful, warm culture. There you go.
I love that. And I love that you brought up the cavern. My friend, Mick, who's from Liverpool, he was like, you have to ask about the cavern and you have to ask about Eric's. And I was like, Eric's? I haven't heard of Eric's, but he said that was a big place where he saw you back in England.
I wonder who Eric is, but, you know, we played the cavern a lot, you know, and it's funny because on the wall in the cavern, they spelt the name wrong. You know, it's Herman, no apostrophe S, Herman. So, you know, Eric, do you think he means Eric Burden?
I think it was another nightclub. We'll have to ask him. He might be watching in the chat. If he has another thing to say, we can pop it up on the screen.
Well, he could be completely wrong as well. He could, you know, it's an anagram of rice, remember?
Could be. Who knows? Danica?
All right. Well, my next question is a little, let's call it cheeky, but I have to ask, what was the moment that you knew you were into something good? When did you know you were a huge success?
You know, I can remember where I was when I first heard it on the radio. But you see, I thought I was successful because I'd got to the cavern and the oasis. I thought that was the level of success. Now, the next level was to hear yourself on the radio. And on August, we made a record, and we weren't sure what happened with records because, you know, I was 16. I think two of the guys in the band were 17. I was 16. One was 18, and one was like ancient. He was 20. And you know, we were on we were in a place that we played every week. We were kind of the house band, like the Cavern and the Oasis. There was this place called the Beachcomber in Bolton, and we were in the kitchen, because that's where groups used to change, you know, amongst all the bags of potatoes and stuff like that. And we were in the kitchen, and I'm Into Something Good by Herman's Hermits came on the radio, and it was unexpected. It was really unexpected. We knew the record came out that day, but it was unexpected. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, we were, you know, I was on a bus going to meet the band. It's such a weird period because my parents lived in Liverpool, but my band, the group, were from Manchester. So I was living with my grandparents, and I used to take the bus to meet the guys to go on TV shows and stuff like that. I'd got to take the bus into the city of Manchester. My grandmother lived in a little place called Flixton, and I'm on the bus, and the bus driver said, "Wait a second, you're that Herman fella from Herman's Hermits." I go, yeah. He said, "Well, aren't you supposed to be taking a taxi or something by now?" and you know, I hadn't even thought about that. I hadn't even thought about fame. Fame was something that I didn't really think ever about. Once upon a time, people didn't become famous for being famous. They became famous for deeds and work. So I was kind of shocked. And then within like a week after that bus incident, I was on Top of the Pops. The record was in number 27 or something, and I was on
Amazing.
Top of the Pops with the Beatles and Roy Orbison and a group called the Toys, and Top of the Pops in those days was done in Manchester, and I took a taxi to do the TV show, and it was that feeling that, you know, that I was accepted. You know, it's part of the thing is that most of us, as English or British musicians from the period, had dads who were also in the bands. First of all, we had dads. That was a bit of an unusual thing, you know. But we had dads, and they'd been in bands. It's like my dad had a band, and Pete Townshend's dad had a band, and his mom was in the band in Pete Townshend's case. So, and you know, Ray Davies's mom and dad were kind of semi-professional musicians, and you know, in my dad's band had Huey Gibb, who was the Bee Gees' dad, and so we were sort of following on from semi-professional musicians. So we all had in the back of our heads, every musician in England had this thought in the back of their head that once it was over, you went back to I'd go and be a doctor or something, and go back to school and pick up and then become normal again. And this would just be sort of this run-on thing, like for my dad, he'd been in a band, and his good fortune was on his 18th birthday, the Second World War broke out, and he was shipped off, so his band broke up. So when I was in Herman's Hermits, like before that, like when I was 11 or 12 and I was in the Cyclones and a load of skiffle groups, he was at university. So I'd go up to Edinburgh, and my mother went to Cambridge University and my father went to Edinburgh University. So I had this sort of odd world lives where I think I should say this. I lived in this 50-year period where everything for everybody got a little bit better every day. It was this period in history where every day it got better. You know, they had the welfare state in England. My parents were given a prefabricated house when they got married. You know, a prefabricated house, and then they moved up to a council house, which is a city-sponsored council house, and then they made enough money to buy their own house, and my grandparents were healthy, and you know they got a hearing aid, and every day things got for everybody, and my sister did well at school, and for 50 years everything in the whole world was improving. You know, people, there was less poverty and there was less hate, and I said, wow, what could possibly go wrong? You know, this is every day is getting better, not just for me, as a generalization. Of course there was, I was in America and there were race things going on here. We didn't have any of that in England. We didn't know nothing about that. We just were completely oblivious. We lived on this little island and everybody knew each other, and all my friends were in bands. And the worst thing that could happen is really good bands didn't make it because they had the wrong manager or the wrong publishing company or the wrong label. And the great bands that I grew up with, that I would sit in awe at how unbelievably talented they were, some of them just didn't make it. So I was into something good the minute that I heard my record on the radio, because I knew now I was up there with the Roy Orbisons and the Four Seasons and those people, and Dion. I'm in that ether now.
Love that so much. Wow.
Side note, I love a good skiffle band. Love a good
what?
band. Skiff band. Oh, I love a skiffle band. Oh yeah. They're just fun.
Yeah.
There's a couple still good ones still going, so I gotta say.
Every skiffle band did it. Hilton from the Animals had a great skiffle band, and all the way up until he died, it was Hilton Valentine, who, by the way, I see Eric Burden quite a lot. Hilton Valentine had the best name in rock and roll, didn't he? And it was his real name.
Wow. Well, since we are speaking about names, and I've seen a couple of people ask, how did you guys come up with the name Herman's Hermits and specifically the name Herman?
Okay. We were in a pub rehearsing to go to work. We were about 14 or 15. And I used to do this Buddy Holly thing. I would so I wear glasses, very thick things, and I'd put them on, and I would think that when I put them on, that I looked like Buddy Holly, and I'd go, well. So this, because I was a big fan of Buddy Holly, so I'd seen his pictures on an album cover, and I knew that I put the glasses on, I looked just like him. So although every Buddy Holly impersonator starts with a set of glasses, so I put my glasses on and I go, little things you say, like with Texas accent and everything. And the guy who owned the pub says, "What are you doing?" And I go, as if to say, "Are you stupid or something?" I say, "Buddy Holly."
Duh.
You don't look like Buddy Holly. You look like Sherman from the Bullwinkle Show.
Oh.
and he meant Sherman and Professor Peabody, and Sherman is this little kid, and the dog is smarter than him. But we thought that was hilarious. We thought that was the greatest idea ever. I look like Sherman from how great is that, Sherman? And he said, "And you, what are you laughing at? The group, like you two laughing just now. You should call yourself the Hermits, because you look like bloody hermits." I go, "Great, Sherman and the bloody Hermits," and that just became Herman and the Hermits. Over. It was before drugs and drink had been invented. So we were just kids and just life was just fabulous. We lived in Manchester and everything was fabulous. And we could do whatever we wanted, really. And the fun name was going to be helpful, helpful to pay off the loan in my father's name.
It's such a catchy name too. Like Herman's Hermits. It's just like, it's so good.
The alliteration, you don't get something.
There was another group. There's another group at the same time in Liverpool called Farron's Flamingos, and we thought that was like the F and F. Farron's Flamingos and Herman's Hermits, and I don't remember any others, but there must have been others.
Fair enough.
It's very clever still. Thank you to
we just didn't know we were so clever.
Danica?
All right. So, knowing that you began with Herman's Hermits at such a young age, how were you all able to stay so grounded and focused and mature?
Do you think it was because we were overeducated for our position?
No, the feeling, but
it's very simple, really. If you the Beatles, when they started to make it, they would ask, Brian Epstein would come to him and say, "Would you like to do a commercial for American drink, a fizzy one?" And they'd say, "Has Elvis done it?" And we would say to our manager, have the Beatles done it yet? Thinking that they were the go, if they were so brilliant that they would never do anything wrong, and we would just follow them. Is that it? So and we were pretty immature and low IQ, and we were just ready to. We were really immature English working class boys, and if somebody asked us nicely to stand over there, we would stand over there. And if somebody said, you know, it isn't a good idea to throw a TV out of the window, we would say, we didn't even want to throw a TV out the window. You know what I mean? That was never our thing. We were just working class people and enjoying every minute of it as a gang, really. You know, we could have. And remember, all the people who came before us were role models. You know, they were very, you know, all those bands that traveled around England, a lot of them didn't make it, were our role models because they were hardworking and they drove the van. You know, I remember driving the van when I was 15 because I was the only person in that group who wasn't drunk because I wasn't old enough to drink. So we grew up slowly and with good behavior as sort of a general, you know. I left St. Bede's College one day, and my dad got me in another school. I never lasted very long at a school, but my dad got me in another one. And, you know, I wasn't a good student, but I never did anything bad to anybody. So in the band, we always had this thing that, you know, we've got to behave, really, because the Beatles behaved, didn't they? And the Stones did as well. The Stones had this reputation of being all like bad and stuff like that, but we knew them, and we knew that they were just really nice. The Beatles were the nicest four guys on the road. They were so kind to everybody, to every band, every little group, every girl singer. Oh yeah, what you doing? You know, they were just great people. Nobody talks about how nice the Beatles were. They only talk about how great their music was. But to us, they were always kind and pleasant. You know, I was always known as Hermit. You know, that the Beatles always called, hey, Hermit. Never Herman, never Peter, Hermit. And they were great. So, you know, we always had this, it's kind of like in a shadow, really. We were in this giant shadow of genius and brilliance. So we accepted whatever bone was thrown our way, really. A hit record. Once I see John Lennon in London, and he goes, hey, Hermit, I see your record's #1 in America. And I said, thank you. Such an idiot. The stupidest thing I've ever said in my life, probably. You know, because he wasn't asking me to, he was just like, oh, you know, well done, you know, and I didn't need to thank him. He had nothing to do with it.
Wow. But I was going to say, I know, you know, you mentioned people obviously remember the music, but to me, the thing that always stands out is how nice people are, because that lasts with you forever. And obviously you have these wonderful memories of the Beatles being nice, and there's so many people, you know, commenting saying that they've met you before and how kind you are. That goes such a long way, and kindness is
they may
easy.
be lying.
They could be lying as well. That is correct.
I called them all and said, call and say nice things about me. No, but you know, I'm going to say this, Kid Cadet and Danica.
Yes.
One thing that I've noticed, and I noticed it when I was a little kid. Me and my sister, we were behind the stage. We never got backstage. And it was a bill, the Everly Brothers and the Rolling Stones and Mickey Most and Bo Diddley. And the Everly Brothers came out, and they had a lot of fans. And once upon a time, rock and roll was more boys for Teddy Boys, like the Everly Brothers and Chuck Berry and all that. And my sister liked the Everly Brothers. And they were so kind to us. We didn't want an autograph. We've never taken an autograph. There was no cameras anywhere, so they were just kind of. And I got that impressed me. And some people have been jerked, you know. And I have a radio show at Sirius XM, and I say, my mother told me, if I don't have something nice to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. And then I play the record by the person that I don't like.
Oh my God.
That's clever.
Yeah, it is. But you're also mentioning some of my favorite. I mean, Everly Brothers and Buddy Hall. Oh my gosh, my favorite.
Yeah.
And since you just mentioned your Sirius XM, what actually got you interested in doing the Sirius program, and what is the best aspect of actually getting to have your own program?
You know, I never ever thought I would. I used to be what's called a VJ. I had a show on VH1 where I would kind of be on it and talk to people and stuff. Mostly talk to people, and then eventually they turned it into a talk show, and I kind of enjoyed that, even though I wasn't very good at it. I was better at talking than listening. So I did a concert for the people who owned, I suppose, the heads of Sirius XM, and they're all people that I kind of know. They're all guys who've been disc jockeys for 50 years and stuff like that. So it's kind of an unusual audience and hard to play to. But it was just me and a guitar, and of course, because it's me and guitar, you can't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep going. Blah, 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 blah. You have to do a bit of a storytelling thing. So I told lots of stories, and I did, and it was in New York, and there was a ferry going past behind me, and I did ferry cross to Jersey instead of ferry cross the Mersey, and they enjoyed that so much that they said, "Would you like a job?" And I said, "Well, what do I do?" And they said, "Well, I said, I couldn't possibly do that because my job, I'm the lead singer in a band, and I have to be in different towns all the time, so I can't do it." And they said, "Well, we'll set you up. We'll give you this magic thing, and you go, well, there's a file transfer protocol, and I suddenly found out that I could have this job and do it in the hotel room or backstage, or not quite on my phone, but in small ways. So I took the job, and I thought it'd be good fun because I know something about every song on the playlist. Something.
Amazing.
And as I got into, I've been doing it for more than 8 years now, and it's 18 2-minute segments weekly for 8 years. So that's 18 times 2 times 52 times 8, and that's
you lost me a long time ago.
I've been doing it. And when I get every week, when I look at the songs I'm going to play, I still am fascinated that I can remember something about every single piece of the, if I'm playing Little Anthony and the Imperials, I know Little Anthony and the Imperials, but I also know Teddy Randazzo, and I used to look after his dog and stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff in the world, obviously any British band, I know everything about them, and I probably know more than I should about them, but I only tell nice stories. So most of the time it takes hours and hours to put together. But when I actually do it, it is kind of fulfilling. I'm sure you know what that means. It's like finishing a show and going, okay, that was good stuff. And then sometimes I listen to it and I laugh. I laugh as they don't know me. I hear me say something. I thought that was really funny. Talking to myself, oh, that was a good one, Pete. It's very bizarre.
Oh,
but don't do it out loud. I only talk to myself too much.
Fair enough.
Oh gosh. Well, my next question is: you've worked with so many artists in both your solo work and even when you were with like the Tremblers. Is there one particular or maybe a most memorable guest artist that you've had the opportunity to work with? Guest
artist? You mean on a show?
Or people that you've worked with on your solo albums or with the Tremblers that, just various artists.
I've worked with so many people, and this is a bit of a stunning revelation. I've been listening to things for the last few months that I didn't remember doing. And I was really good. So it wasn't that I'd tried to forget them because they were bad experiences, but just that I've been busy all my life. I'm a kind of busy person. I like to keep multitasking. So, the people that I've worked with that have the best memories, obviously, are like the Beatles and the Stones, and you know, I'm still friends with all those. Like, I'm a fan of the Stones. I go and see them, and I sit back there and I go, I can't. You guys, it's absolutely brilliant. You managed to keep this thing going all these years. And Ronnie is in the Stones now. He wasn't in the Stones when I was a kid, but he was in the band called the Byrds, Birds. Birds.
Mm-hmm.
And in his book, his kind of autobiography, he talks about the Oasis, which is funny because he's not from there at all. But he goes, the Byrds are getting into the Oasis, and this bloke from a really famous band, Hermits, walks up to the van and says, "Let me show you how to get the PA down the stairs here, because I've played here hundreds of times." But I was already, you know, I had 10 hits by then. I'd done 5 American tours of it. But I saw these guys, the little guys, they looked cool, and they were never going to get the PA in that door down that stair. You know, like I became my dad all of a sudden. Let me show you how to do this. And so, you know, I would say that lots of people, I cross paths with lots of people, not swords. You know, I remember I was like, a lot of people are dead that I've got good information about, you know, just because they were kind of 5 years older than me. And that's like a good run for rock and roll, you know, 78. Oh my God, he's 78. So, you know, I remember there was a guy called Roy Head who had probably just one big rock and roll record. Hit, da, 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 da. And he was a really nice guy. And I was on a show with him, and he did the best show I've seen other than James Brown. It was kind of that thing. I was like, wow, I said, you're absolutely amazing. You're probably one of the best singers I've ever seen. He goes, oh, no. The best singer you've ever seen is down the street in a little bar. Come with me. And we go, y'all come with me. And we walk down the street, and he introduces me to B.J. Thomas, who is clearly one of the great singers. And of course, I know Tom Jones. Tom Jones is a great singer, and he's a great bloke. And I've known him, let's see, 1964. I've known him for 58 years. And, you know, he's a great person. And, you know, I saw him again recently, and you know, in his book, he talks about how I saved his life by beating Australian surfers up on the beach, and I remember it, and I say to him, you know, I had to beat them up because they didn't understand why you were walking around the beach in tight trousers, a Toreador jacket, and Cuban heel boots with a fluffy shirt. I had to beat them up and show them that I'm from Manchester and I will protect you. And another time in a pub in Shepperton, I can't remember much about it, but I know I did sort of hurt this man. But you could clearly see I'm unable to fight my way out of a paper bag, really. But it's good that somebody's written about it in a book. The 2 fights that I won in my whole life.
Wow.
No mention of the 762 that I lost.
No, we don't need to focus on those, but
Exactly.
So, Peter, we actually have a game that we want to play right now. It's a game of Would You Rather. And so you just have to pick between 2 options, and this is all up to you. There's no wrong answers here. So we're going to bring it
called Wedgie Grabber?
Would you grab? No.
No.
Would you rather? Would you rather? We're going to bring.
Would you rather? Okay.
Would you rather? That's a different game. No, it's okay. We have a graphic. Let's bring up the graphic right now. Okay, and here's the first question. Okay, for would you rather always have to wear an ascot or always have to wear Oxford shoes?
Oxford shoes, easy.
Easy? Oh, that's an easy one? Okay. Yeah. Fabulous. Ooh. Fabulous. Next one.
Next one. Would you rather have a flying car or be able to breathe underwater?
I would prefer the flying car, but I don't want that one.
So what kind of car would you want?
Any kind of car, but not that one. It's too people would see that. You know,
fair.
I'd like be more invisible, like more light, a darker color.
Okay.
Maybe, you know, grey instead of blue. Pink. It's a bit sissy, that.
Okay, we can have that arranged.
Yeah,
The
we'll
black
call
flying
someone.
car. Okay, here's the next one. Would you rather write and perform a 007 James Bond theme song or write and perform a Disney film soundtrack?
Oh, well, I've done a Disney film soundtrack, so
Oh.
I'm going to go with, like on a Hermits record called Silhouettes, as the guy who played the guitar on the James Bond themes, that down, 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 down. His name is Vic Flick, and he played guitar on Silhouettes. Da, 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 da. So I'm going for that. Vic Flick would show me how to do that. Vic also played that down, down, da, da, down, da, down. The only Beatles music that the Beatles aren't on is Vic Flick. So I'm going to go write and perform a 007 theme song.
Love that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Danica.
All right. Would you rather go back and share a flat with Keith Moon or go back and share a flat with Keith Richards?
You know what? Maybe we could all move in together. That would be fun. We put them in bunk beds.
Okay.
And let them fight over who gets the top thing. And I'd just be like the dad over, and I'd have a single bed and just look over there and go, oh dear, boys.
Okay.
That sounds like a great TV series.
Right. Well,
right. Herman and the Keiths.
Oh, all right. Here's the next one. Would you rather never be able to eat fish and chips again or never be able to eat a full English breakfast again?
Oh, I'd rather never be able to eat fish and chips again, because look at that. Look at that. It's got tomatoes and bacon and the English sausage and two fried eggs over easy. Oh, I'm not sure about the black pudding, but I could
Really?
I could get rid of those. I could push those under. I'd drop them under the table like I used to do at school and kick them under somebody else's seat.
I'll take them.
Okay, fabulous. All right, next one.
All right. Would you rather be able to speak every language or be able to play every instrument?
Oof. Can I just be able to do one or two of them really well? I'd like to be able to speak. I got a couple of languages. I'd like to be able to speak Spanish, but I'm not interested in anything else. I already speak Bruno German, and
Bruno German. Ooh.
Yeah, like that movie German, Bruno, where he pretends he can speak German. That was and when you say every instrument, I'm not sure a tambourine is an instrument, is it? Isn't that something you shake around and
technically?
But you gotta have the rhythm.
Yeah, percussionist. Percussionist is a musician. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'd like to be able to play every musician, everything except like all the ones in the picture I'd like to play.
Fair enough.
What am I going to be? I'm going to choose to be able to play every instrument.
It's a good choice.
Great.
Awesome. All right, here's the next one. Would you rather compete on the Great British Baking Show or compete on Strictly Come Dancing?
That's a good one. Well, I can't dance at all, but I can't dance at all. Once somebody said to me, and John Lennon comes in, I said, listen, John Lennon doesn't dance. And they go, what do you mean John Lennon doesn't dance? I said, John Lennon doesn't dance. Do you understand that? People in groups stopped dancing in 1962. If you've got a guitar, you do not dance at the same time. And John Lennon, if you went to a nightclub, and I did, there were lots of people dancing, he never danced. So that's it. I'm not going to be on the come dancing because I can't dance. I could stand on your feet and you could do all the steps, but I'm not doing that. So and baking, I've never been in the kitchen.
Okay.
My mum said, get out of here. You break something. So
right.
would I rather? I'm going to go with the baking show because I can't dance.
Okay, good choice. All right, next one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Would you rather listen to Oh Pretty Woman on repeat or listen to Kathy's Clown on repeat for 24 hours?
Huh. I think this time I'm going with Kathy's Clown because I've got such fun. I really love Roy Orbison and everything, but my sister used to play his records on repeat for 24 hours. And we would hear Roy Orbison and he'd go, it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. And it wasn't. And then he'd go, it's over. And my dad
Lies.
would up the stairs, thank Christ for that. And his words. So Roy Orbison, I'm done with. I love Roy Orbison. I right before he died, we did a gig together in Calgary, and he had a strawberry milkshake and a cheeseburger and everything. It's just perfect. And then I got such great fun memories of Roy. And of course, Kathy, the Everly brothers. I have a picture somewhere on my desk here of my daughter Natalie giving them the Legends of the Jukebox Award. They were legends of the jukebox, which I'd always wanted to be, because once upon a time there was a jukebox where you could put money in it and everybody else in the room listened for free and you didn't go and ask them for any money. And so I could both of those. Can I do 24 hours of the Everly Brothers and then 24 hours of Pretty Woman? Because I like the guitar on that.
We'll give you that.
Yeah. Or you could split it 12-12.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's Kennedy. It's a George Kennedy playing the guitar on that road. Down, 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 down. Yeah.
Oh, so good. All right. Here's the next one. Would you rather never have your guitar go out of tune or never break another guitar string?
I like breaking guitar strings because it gives you time to mess around and talk to the audience and something about old timers looking for chaos because they know that they can fix it is something that people who've been around a long time like something to so you can be creative, improvisational comedy. And so I'm gonna go with I'll never have my guitar go out of tune.
Good choice.
Wow, I like that.
Have
Yeah.
my guitar go out of tune. I like breaking strings.
I like that. That's fun.
All right. This is the last one, Danica. Yes.
All right. Last one. Would you rather cover a song from the first band you ever saw or write a song based on your favorite movie?
Well, the first band I ever saw, I have trouble remembering. You mean that I saw live? I saw the Beatles live in a field near my grandmother's, but they were already covering songs. The Beatles, when the Beatles first started, they didn't write songs. They just did other people's songs really, really well. And so I couldn't cover a song that they'd already covered. So I'm going to write a song based on my favorite movie. Now, what's my favorite movie? It's going to be a weird one. It'd be any one of the Coen Brothers movies I would take, maybe anything by the Coen Brothers. So how about I write a song? Actually, I enjoyed Fargo, the TV series. So I'll write a song called Fargo because it's got a country thing. And I like the two vowels in them too.
Yes. Fargo, so
that's
good.
Really fun.
Oh, wow. Well, that was our game of Would You Rather. And
That was easy.
Good. And you passed
yes.
with flying colors.
Did I win? Because I only play games that
I think you won.
Okay.
Yes, you definitely won. I say yes.
All right, good.
Well, since we've kind of come to the end of the stream, thank you so much. This has been so incredible. Your stories are legendary. Before we do wrap this up, is there any final thoughts that you want to leave us with here today?
Yes, it was very, very enjoyable, I must say. But, as you will find out, many of the things that I say are true.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
I usually start the show with, well, many of the things I'm going to say may be true.
Okay.
You seem like fun. This is a good show. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on it. And it just shows you how perilous the world has become, where people can connect to each other without running into them on the train or something. You know, like, imagine if Keith Richards hadn't got on that bus or wherever it was and seen Mick Jagger with the Muddy Waters LP under his arm, they would never have emailed each other. Hi, Keith. My name's Mick and I live near you. That would never have happened, you see. So this is probably the new, whatever happens from this could be quite perilous like the past.
Yeah. Well, before we do wrap this up, we just want to go over our upcoming guests that we have. So next week, we'll go through these really fast. We have Vinny Dombrowski from Sponge.
Whoa, Vinny Dombrowski.
Yes, of course. We have Edward Furlong from Terminator 2. We have Casey Jost from Impractical Jokers. We have Amy Asbeck from Robin Hood Men in Tights. We have WWE Hall of Famer The Godfather, and also Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Nation. But Peter, before we wrap this up, we were on your website. Do you have some upcoming tour dates that you want to share with us?
Yeah, but I don't know them right now because I don't have any paperwork here. Should I get I've got...
we might have a graphic. Let's see if Jude has something that he's going to bring up with some of your... Oh, I think he has your website. Let's see. Upcoming dates. Here we go. Let's bring him to the screen right now.
If you can spell my name, there you go. If you can spell my name, you can go and look at all the places I'm playing at. Oh,
look at that.
That's too small for me. That's too small.
Yeah, for me too.
Fair enough.
I'm playing to Maysville, and then Turtle Lake, Wisconsin, and then San Juan Capistrano, and Santa
You're gonna come to the Woodlands?
Pardon?
I hope I'm here. I'm in Houston. I hope I can get up to the Woodlands. That's very close to me.
We play it every year except 2020. We love it there. It's the big barn at Dozy Do. That's a good one.
Oh my goodness.
Are there any
we get around.
Are there any like stops along the way of your tours? That's a place you're like, I have to visit there. I have to eat there. I have to make sure that I stop.
You know, everywhere is another adventure in its own way. You know, there are no two show. I say to everyone, people in my fan club have been to 100 concerts and they've never seen the same one twice because we don't have a set list, we don't have a plan, and we just wing it. And you know, when I'm in Houston, I don't even, I don't know where I'm going to go for dinner or anything. I'll go to the Woodlands because I like it there, that shopping mall and all that stuff. That's where I hang out. And when I'm on the road, depending on the weather, I'm a rambler, not just talking wise, but I like to go for walks and I wander around and I like walking around town and just looking at stuff. And if it's really bad weather, I go to a shopping mall and you can walk round and round a shopping mall. And, I get Starbucks gift cards and I used to, bread is a highlight of my tour. And it's just stuff like that. I try to not take it too seriously because everything that happens during the day leads up to the 75 to 19 minutes that I'm on stage, and nothing else really matters. Just a nice, clean hotel room, hopefully.
Very important.
Lovely.
Very
yes,
important.
very.
Well, Peter, thank you so much. Like, we are
such an honor.
It is such an honor. We can't even begin to tell you how much this means to us and everyone.
Well done for getting in touch with me. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it, baby.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again to Peter. Thank you guys to everybody watching, and we'll see you guys real soon. Be safe, everybody.
Nice meeting you, Danica.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Bye, Peter.
Bye, everybody.